Welcome, everybody. We'll get started here about 7:30, but just wanted to make sure that everyone connected okay. And as we move forward tonight, if you have questions, put those in the chat, and we'll talk about that here in a second, as well as raise your hand for the live Q&A at the end. Thank you.
Hello, Amy Marsh. Hello, Margaret Farrell. Linda Hartman here.
Good evening to you. Hello. I'm glad you're able to join in, Linda.
Well, I figured I might as well see what's happening so I could be a little more in the know.
That's good.
Because, you know, sometimes life just passes me by and I don't know things, and that's never good.
No, it isn't. So tonight for these 30 minutes, we're going to give you some new information. Tune you up a little bit.
Sounds great. I'm playing with my mute button because I'm going to be washing my dishes while I'm...
Okay, so most of the time, we're going to have you guys basically on mute because of some of that background noise. So when folks have questions, they can type it into the chat box and we'll go over that piece. But just so you know, most of the time we will have the majority of you on mute until maybe when we get to the end if we can. That way you can keep doing your dishes and not worry about it. Welcome to those of you who are joining us. We'll be starting in just a couple more minutes, but I see some new names popping in, so just letting you know we'll be starting closer to the bottom of the hour, just a couple more minutes.
Margaret, we're right at 7:30. If we want to start, we could, and I can keep watching as people come in, just to be
Hey,
mindful.
that sounds absolutely wonderful. We will go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. This is Margaret Farrell, and I'm one of the members of the planning committee for the South Dakota EMT conference that's going to be this fall. We also have in our presentation, Ellie High Street, who's been helping us with making this all virtual. And I also have Amy Marsh, who is going to be watching the chat box. So if you guys have questions, I would prefer that you guys use the chat box to ask them so that we can record them and we can put them in our frequently asked questions and things like that. So we make sure that we get the right information going out to everybody. I'm so excited seeing all the names in the participant list. Some of them are new to me, so through this EMT conference, I hope to get to meet you a little bit. And some of you I already know, so it's always such a comfort to see people virtually that I know and have met at other conferences being willing to participate in this year's conference. So for this year, I'll just give you a quick rundown. We're going to go over, and Ellie's got an agenda and everything like that. But tonight we're going to go over how we get into conference and things like that. But I want to let you know that we have 20 hours of training planned. It's all qualifies as ALS, but it's at the level so that all the levels will be able to glean new information, different way of hearing the same thing that you've heard before. It's like, oh, that's a different way to think about it. So we've got 20 hours for you. We've got several different speakers. We've got 3 national speakers, and then our other speakers are from across the state. So we've got a wide variety of speakers for us. So I'm really excited about conference. You know, this has been one of those crazy years. Everything's not exactly what we thought it would be. And this conference is going to be about the same. It's not going to be quite what you thought it would be, but by golly, we're going to have some great training for you. We've got vendor set up so you can chat and visit with the vendors, things like that. So I'm really looking forward to conference, and I'm so glad to see you guys signing on now to get an idea of how it's going to look and what it looks like behind the scenes and things like that. So again, if you have questions, please chat them in the chat box, because that way we can keep track of them and we can answer them as we're going, but still keep the flow of the information we want to give you kind of in an assembled order. So again, if you've got those questions, put them in the chat box. But with that introduction and the excitement to go to conference, because you're going to be at home or at your service, but boy, you get to go to conference, I'm going to turn this over to Ellie, who's going to give us kind of the step-by-step way in which we can get signed in and registered for conference.
Thank you, Margaret, and thank you all for joining us tonight. We promise to keep this as brief as possible, so we're going to be providing a lot of information, and hopefully you'll find this beneficial. If you have questions at any time, please make sure that you, again, put those in the chat box, like Margaret said. And also, I want to make sure everyone has the conference email address. It's in this slide that you see right here. Please send us emails at any time, ask questions. We're doing the best we can to respond immediately, and we want to make this as easy for everyone as possible. We know we're shifting, and in your 45-year history, this is the first time you've been all virtual. Quick background on just since the pandemic happened, I've actually helped several organizations move their tried and true long-term events from in person, which we're all used to virtual. So every time, every step along the way, we're learning. And so thank you for your patience and your grace during this as well, because we're doing the best we can. And like Margaret said, we want to make sure everyone has the best experience and gets those 20 hours of education. So tonight, what are we going to talk about? Here are the 7 things we're going to be covering. We're going to cover them quickly. These slides will be available on the association website after the presentation. We'll also be putting some of this stuff on Facebook. We'll be talking about the platforms we're using, the registration process, Guidebook, which is the app and the website that we're going to be using to deliver everything, a brief discussion of the schedule, district meetings, voting, and hours. So we've got a lot packed in here. So here we go. The platforms that we're going to be using, and you're going to be hearing about these a lot, there are 3 of them that I want everyone to be aware of. Wild Apricot, which is your registration platform that most of you, if you're already a member, you're used to that platform. You're used to registering, getting updates, getting emails from that system. That's also the same system we're going to be using for voting. We'll talk more about that here in a bit. Guidebook. Guidebook is the conference website and the app, and it's really powerful, really, really neat. Once you see behind the scenes here quickly tonight, you'll understand what we're talking about. And Zoom, all of the sessions are going to be delivered via Zoom. And those of you who are on tonight, we have about 65 registered, and I see people are still joining us, are familiar with the Zoom process. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well, but I just wanted to make sure that you all knew it'd be coming through Zoom. The first thing is Wild Apricot. Wild Apricot is your registration platform and the platform that you're going to be using for voting. Something that's very important, and some of the questions we've been getting, especially about voting. Make sure that you have your username and password. There's actually a button on the registration portion of the site, and we'll show this here in a second. If you forgot your password, you can get it reset. This is important, especially when you vote. I know a lot of different ambulance services and just different organizations throughout the state might have one person registered for your entire group, which is totally fine. But voting, which we'll talk about here a little bit later, you want to make sure you have your username and your password, so when you receive that information, you're able to vote efficiently. The conference registration website, you'll see it here at the top, and if you go to SDEMSA.org, we have an entire section about the conference. What you'll want to do, especially if you're not familiar with the website, I'm going to go through this basic step, the couple steps needed to register. If you are familiar with the website and you've already registered, this is just a good refresher. But if you click on the home screen, you'll see the drop down for conference. And this is the screen you'll get. You want to hit register here. And what will happen if you already are familiar with the registration site, have registered for other events in the past, this is where you'll enter in your email and your password. As I mentioned, that forgot your password button right there, that's if you can't remember. So feel free to click on that. It'll take you through the step. You can reset your password and go through the process. That saves time if you've registered in the past and you're not a new user. If you are a new user, which we have a lot of folks this year who are, which is very, very exciting, especially since we're virtual, the same screen, you want to scroll down, the bottom left-hand corner where it says register, you would want to click there. That would take you to an entire new screen where you want to enter in the email address that you'll use for your Wild Apricot account, go through all this good security check business, make sure that everything is safe and secure. Click the registration option that you're after, if it's the conference or if it's Conference Plus. Something that our team has wanted me to emphasize is to make sure that when you're going through this process that you always click the next button, and you make sure you look at the bottom to make sure you're completing the process. Sometimes what happens, and I do this too with not just this software, but others, you go through the whole process and you think you hit submit and you might not have. So you'll know when you did, you'll get a confirmation email, but make sure you look at the bottom to see those steps. This is where you would enter in your contact information. Something that's very important, and we'll talk about this for district meetings, your district. If you're unsure of that, you can contact us. We can help you with that. Always, again, clicking the next button. And then this is the part where sometimes folks get hung up. You want to, even if you're going to pay by check, you click invoice me. If you want to pay online with a credit card, those options listed below, you would click pay online. So that gets you through the registration process to make sure that you're registered for conference. So in order to get to this next step of Guidebook, which again is the overall conference software that we're going to be using to deliver all the content, you have to register. And it's our website and our app. What's really neat about it, you can access it on your laptop, your desktop, at home. And the app you can download on your phone. On Monday, October 19th, all of those who have registered will receive an email, and I'll show you a here in a second, the next slide, what that email looks like. An email that will come from this, and this is something to make sure you look for, because we don't want it to end up in spam and for folks not to get it. It'll come from invitations@guidebook.com, but it'll actually come from the name of the conference, which is SDEMSA Conference 2020. Very important. So when you get that email, you can look at the conference website on either your computer, or it'll give you step-by-step instructions to download the app to your phone. Question has come up before: what if we've used Guidebook before? And do we have to re-download it? No, you don't, because this is going to be a very secure link for you, very specific to you. We'll be able to upload everyone who's registered on October 19th and push this out all at the same time. On our end, we'll also be able to see who's able to access it. So if, for example, the email does get to go to your spam or something like that, we'll be able to resend it. And that's where, at the beginning of the slide, and it's at the end of the presentation as well, with the email address, any questions at all, troubleshooting, all of that, we're here to help. We want this to be as a enjoyable experience for you as it is for everyone. On the Guidebook app, we'll have the schedule. So the main page that you'll get access to will have the schedule, presenters, vendors, and sponsors. Once we actually push the information out, we'll also have a really neat function, and it's called Connect. And that's where everyone who's downloaded the app, who's registered with the app with their information and is credentialed in, will be able to chat with each other. If you're interested in setting up an appointment with X vendor, or you have a question for a speaker, anyone who is registered will all be listed into that platform. And that's where you can have those one-on-one conversations, set up appointments, things like that. It's really neat. In Guidebook will also be all the links to the Zooms for each session. And at the bottom of every session, you'll see a link that'll say Zoom, and then you'll also see the survey. The examples I'm going to show you when we get to that part don't have the surveys built yet, because those are something we've been told to wait until we get closer for. So this is what the email will look like that you'll get, automatic email, once Guidebook is pushed out on October 19th. And as you can see, it's pretty neat. These links aren't live because I did it as a screenshot, but it gives you the link. You can click on the link, download it to your phone, download it to your smartphone as well. The homepage, this is just a very brief kind of overview of what it looks like. This is still being built in process, so you have to forgive our under construction still, which is why we want to push it out here in a couple weeks. But what you'll see are some basic things. So you'll see the schedule right off the bat. What's nice about this is that it's just always going to be on that home screen. So every one of these that you see next to an hour where it has the description, you'll be able to click on it, and you'll be able to, if you look at vendors, look at the presentation topics, things like that. And I'm going to show you what one of the speaker sessions looks like behind the scenes right now. So Stephen Rahm will be presenting multiple times. What's nice about this process is that you can go into every speaker, you can click this add to my schedule button, which is really cool. It'll automatically upload that information and download it to your app. So you have a reminder. Okay, I need to be on between 7 and 8 p.m. to listen to Stephen's presentation. The entire screen here looks like this. So I actually pulled up the chat feature. This is something, because we're all virtual, we want to still make sure that we're connected and we're able to communicate, able to still interact with one another. So you can see here on the right-hand side, it says discussion post. People can interact and ask questions of the speaker, things like that ahead of time. We prefer, after the session if you have additional questions, but that feature is there. When I mentioned earlier, the Zoom meeting links will be in every single speaker session. This is what I mean. So part of what we can build on the back end for this, for the software is really neat. We can add websites, we can add PDFs or Word documents, things like that. Whatever the speaker provides us for additional material, we can add it here. So what you'll see, it says web pages. So just for demonstration purposes, I put this Zoom meeting link in. This is where the Zoom link will be the day of a conference for you to activate and to go into that session. Once so that will be live. For security purposes, we'll be pushing that information out as we get closer to conference, because we just want to make sure that's safe and secure for the demonstration. Underneath Zoom meeting link for every session will also be survey, okay? And that's something very important that we'll talk about here in a little while, but that will be your post-session survey that you'll need to fill out in order to get your credits. Also on the homepage, and I just did this for demonstration purposes, but here are some of the sponsors and vendors we already have. And that, again, all on the homepage, so it's very easy to access, you can't miss it. I clicked on this one just as a good example of what I was talking about before with being able to add PDFs and videos and things like that. VendorLift provided all their information immediately to us, which was great. So you can look at the PDFs. You can, they had some YouTube links for some demonstrations that they wanted to, whoops, we'll go back to that one. Some demonstrations for their products. So all of that for vendors will continue to be uploaded and updated, and you'll be able to get contact information for those vendors as well as in the Connect feature, which will be something that I think people will like. When I saw the demo of it and have interacted with it, it's much like Facebook or another social media platform where you see each other, you're able to communicate. We'll be able to put some of our sponsor ads in there as well. At the bottom of the web page version of the conference app in the website, you'll be able to have you'll see this screen. It'll be at the way bottom. And what's neat about this, so say you're accessing this on your computer, which is great. You can do it on your computer, you can do it on your phone, however you really want to do it. But this screen where it says your phone number, it will literally text you the link to download Guidebook, so you don't have to go into the iTunes store, Google Play, try to figure it out. It'll text it to you. So once you get access on October 19th, and we give you that information, first it'll be in that email you get, and then it'll literally text it to you. That's how I downloaded it. It was slick as a whistle. So that's something neat that we'll be pushing out. Zoom. As I mentioned before, every presentation will take place via Zoom. The links will be in every session. So that schedule that I briefly showed you that we're still building out with all the details and the pertinent information, it'll have, if there's a speaker website, we'll have the Zoom meeting link. That's what you would access and click on in order to watch the presentation. And then below the Zoom meeting link will be the survey link. A question we've gotten a couple times from folks is about district meetings. You do not have to register for conference to participate in the district meetings. Each district representative will communicate with the membership in that district to talk about how they're going to deliver a meeting, if it's in person or via Zoom, which we're working with everyone on. And we've been told that some districts may not be meeting during conference as well, and that will be communicated. So watch for those notifications to come from your districts. Voting, which I alluded to before, and Eric, the president of Anderson, sent out an email today about this. We're going to be using Wild Apricot again to vote. You don't have to be registered for conference to vote. Any member, any paid current member of the association is able to vote. And so keep watching for information being emailed to you with that information as we move forward. One of the other big questions we're getting from folks is, how do I get my hours? So as I mentioned, in each of the sessions, so you'll have the Zoom link, then you'll have the survey. Every person must complete that survey at the end of the presentation. It'll be uploaded into your certificate, distributed just like in the past through EMS scan. You'll also, at the end of conference, receive an evaluation that needs to be completed. And because we're leaving everything open through Guidebook through December 31st, we'll process certificates at that time. If you need it before, just contact us and we'll help you out. In earlier communications, we talked about, there's been this question of, well, there's an additional fee if I don't make it to conference. What we meant by that is, if you can't make it October 22nd through 25th, all of the sessions will be recorded. They will be uploaded into the conference app. We'll need about a week in order to complete that process. We'll do it as we can, as fast as we can conference weekend. The fee is $100, no matter when you do it. So if you sign up right now, because you're going to be there October 22nd through 25th, great. If you can't be there, during the actual set conference and you're planning to sign up later, great, still $100. So people will still go through the same process of, registration, downloading with Guidebook, things like that. It's just that the sessions will be pre-recorded. So because of that, in order to get your hours and to get the certificate through December 31st, we will be processing those all at once. So I went extremely fast because I wanted to be mindful of time. And now we're at the fun part. It's 7:50. I can't believe I talked that fast. Sorry if I lost anyone. Apologize for that. I see we have quite a few questions in the chat here as well. But I want everyone to make sure that they take a picture of this email address and or write it down. Contact us all the time, anytime, because again, we want to make sure that this is an experience for everyone that's as seamless as possible. We know we're throwing a lot at everyone because we're going all virtual. We think we're very confident that we have things really handled well. One question I'm just going to answer and bring up right now, and I haven't looked at the chat yet. It's different to do a virtual vendor fair than it is to be able to go booth to booth. And so some of those features I talked about with the Connect feature, being able to see the vendor information on the home screen, interacting with folks as much as you can in a virtual setting, we're really encouraging everyone to be proactive in participating in that way. It's different, there's no doubt about it, but we think that this is the best way to deliver this, and we're really excited to see everyone have a successful conference. So with that, we'll open it up for some questions.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Well, I can't even get on my computer. I went to you by phone, so I didn't get to see any of this. So I don't know what happened.
That's okay.
I've got it. I'm invited to Zoom and everything, and I clicked here to join, and I cannot get in. It asks for a passcode, and I put, I don't know what to do, I guess.
Okay, go ahead, Allie, please.
What I was going to say is, as part of it through security with Zoom, so early on when the pandemic hit and people were using Zoom for more conferences and conventions and big events, kind of like ours. Right now, we're over 200 people who've registered. And part of that process is that we can dictate from our end that people who participate in our Zooms have to be registered with Zoom. And that's what that means. So what you'll want to do is actually set up your account through Zoom. And when you got the link, it should have walked you through that. I'm happy to work with you off this call to talk through that process. But that's strictly, yep. And what I would recommend again is that email address, send emails to that, and we will get back to you as fast as we can to talk that through. But that's a safety and a secure measure to make sure that there's not any sort of interference with the presentation. So it's not good that it happened to you. I apologize, but it's a good thing for us to discuss, because that's what they mean by that, to set up the account.
Okay, so do you have a number, or do you want me to email, or do you want me to, how do I get a number so I can visit with you, or?
You bet.
How do I?
So we'll direct everyone to send emails if you need some help with some of the technology to SDEMSA2020@gmail.com, and that's the conference help desk email address.
Okay, it's a SDEMSA
2020@gmail.com. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You betcha.
This is Margaret. Just a reminder. So to get credit for the hours, everybody's going to need to sign in individually. So once you're signed in, you can still look at it as a group.
Numbers and ID numbers and whatever that we have to put in for the conference itself versus like the Zoom messages like we had tonight.
I'm sorry, I talked over you. Would you repeat that question, please?
And I see there's quite a few questions in the chat room. I don't know where Amy Marsh is here on my screen. I can find her.
Hi, everybody.
There she is. Are there some common ones that keep coming up that we can address?
You know, and I'll just go through the questions that we've been asked, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. A common one is, can we access Guidebook on more than one device? Absolutely. You'll get the link and you can download it to your phone. And let's say you have an iPad, and one day you're going to be on the iPad, the next day you're going to be on your laptop, and the third day you're going to be on your phone. All three devices can have the information linked to it. So we're trying to give you as much access to Guidebook and however you need it. The second question is a little bit about hours. As Margaret Farrell alluded to, we will have, if you were to complete all of the sessions that will be available live, Margaret, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there's 14 hours available during the weekend, and an additional 6 will become available that week later. So if you did
5 or 6, yes.
Yep. And then you will have, if you complete all of the sessions for conference, it will be 20 hours. Those 20 hours meet the National Registry mandatory section and also fulfills the 20 hours required for EMT certification in the state of South Dakota. Another question was, can we watch some of the presentations during the conference and some after? All sessions will be available after conference. So even if, let's say you're at home, you start watching a session and, oh my, the dog got out and you had to run after the dog, or you have a call, you can go back and do the recorded session approximately a week. We'll have it available after conference. You'll be able to watch them. Or if it was a wonderful presentation, which is what we're expecting, and you're like, man, I'd like to see that again, that will be available to you. You will only get credit one time though. So even if you watch the session 4 times, you'll get 1 credit hour.
As Amy's looking for these, this is Margaret. I just want to remind folks, when you're expecting emails from any of the, from Guidebook, from South Dakota EMS Association, do make sure you're periodically checking your spam folder, because oftentimes some of the wild apricot emails that we send out through SDEMSA end up in your spam folder. So we do encourage you, if you're thinking you should be getting something, do look in there, because periodically they get caught and don't make it all the way into your inbox. And one other thing, just to reemphasize, you know how normally at conference we stamp your book as you go in and out of conference to show that, quote, you were there? The way we're doing that this year is the use of the survey. By doing the survey at the end, that's basically your stamp and how we can record that you were in the session. So at the end of each one of the presentations, there'll be a survey to fill out, and that's how we're going to be able to get the tracking, basically the stamp that you attended the session. So don't forget to do those when we have the conference going, or as you're watching them recorded. Are there any other questions out there, you guys? We're almost at the top of the hour. Again, we recorded this session and we will be posting it on the SDEMSA Wild Apricot site. We'll probably put it on Facebook for you because there was so much information to go through. But again, if you do have questions, please, honestly, feel free to reach out to us. we've got the SDEMSA2020@gmail.com mail area for us, so that any questions, just go ahead, feel free to send them in to us and we will get back to you. Again, this is a new world for us. We're doing the best we can, and we'll still get some training and we'll still get to see each other virtually. So I'm still excited to go to conference with all of you guys. I think it's going to be a fun time. Is there anything else we need to add in, Ellie?
Well, I was just going to add, I think for everyone to know that this conference committee, this planning committee is really, really working hard on this to make sure that a lot of these questions are answered in advance, that we're, and things are still coming up, that, we're going through this and we're doing the best we can. So I want you to feel confident in that really working with our great speakers, they're excited. They feel really comfortable and confident with how this is going to work. The software that we're using is great. And again, as Margaret and Amy mentioned, we're going to be able to deliver the great content, hours that you need for your certification. So feel comfortable in that. That's something that I can't emphasize enough. We meet weekly to talk through this, and several of us seem to talk all day long, every day, all 7 days a week, to make sure that we're not forgetting any little step and that we're being as thorough as we possibly can. So I just want you all to know that and feel very comfortable that we're doing the best we can, and we're gonna deliver a great experience for you all.
Question. There's a 11-digit ID number that we had to put in tonight for this class so that we could ask questions and whatever, and then there was a 6-digit number we had to put in after that. Will those numbers change for the conference itself, or will they be the same?
Every session will have new information. That's a very good question. Every session through Zoom automatically generates new meeting ID information and those session numbers. And that's for security. That's something that Zoom, again, they've learned a lot too during this pandemic time where everyone's had to move to virtual. So for safety and security, that's what will happen. Now, we mentioned this before. So if you're unable to complete watching an entire session or things like that, 1 week after conference, we'll have uploaded those sessions into a link that will be in the Guidebook app for that session. You can watch the recording. So just be aware of that part. But yes, they will change every time, and that's for security.
So Ellie, this is Margaret. One follow-up question to that. If I'm using Guidebook and I click on the session, will it open up the session for me in Zoom without having to have to type anything in?
Yes and no. So it depends on how the security settings are that we have. It should seamlessly do it, but I'm not going to make that guarantee 100% because that's it depends on the settings we do. We want this to be safe and secure, so it'll be there and you'll be able to click it in. And I think that's how that's going to work. But in case not, just make sure that people have that information for those Zoom sessions, the meeting ID and things.
Excellent, thank you. See, we're all learning new stuff.
It's super fun.
Other questions for us before we sign off, because I want to respect your time. If there are no other questions, thanks so much for joining in with us. Amy, do you have any parting words for us?
I just was going to say, I see that Margaret Kuipers joined from the State Association, and she is our masters at Wild Apricot, and I didn't know if she had any words of wisdom for us. I wanted to make sure, give her just a moment if she wanted to.
I don't know if I have any words of wisdom. I think registration is going really well. And I expect there's going to be a lot more registration after these meetings, so people get an idea what's going to happen. And I do really think that it's a great deal, especially when you have a chance to get all those hours, even if you can't sit at the computer the whole time, that over that weekend, you have lots of time to pick up those hours. So I'm excited about that. And if anybody has any questions about registration, they can always shoot me an email, treasurer@sdemsa.org, which I'm pretty sure everybody who's ever registered knows that, for any conference over the last several years, because the registration is working similar to what we've had in the past. One of the things I do want to point out, though, since we're doing all this virtually, the only reason we did membership cards in the past was for voting. Technically, we really didn't need the membership cards. So the only membership cards people will have will be on their Wild Apricot membership account. And some of you have already logged into that. If you've never logged in before, you just put in your email address that you get stuff from Wild Apricot, put in that email address, and then say forgot password, because it'll just send you an option to reset it, even though you maybe never have had it. There are several members who we don't have an email address for, and if they want to have access, nobody that's going to be part of conference, but because everybody who's part of this conference will have to have an email address. But other members that services sign them up and they've never been on, and they don't have their email addresses, they can send those to me. I can add them, and then they can have access to their see that membership card. They can print it. You can do the Wild Apricot member app, and then you have all that information available to you at any time. Any questions?
Margaret, can you reiterate the idea on cost and whatever for this conference?
I guess I'm not sure what you're speaking about.
Usually we had to pay like $200 to $185, $125, whatever for conference. What is the cost for conference this year with this being on the internet like it is?
It will be $100 for regular members, and lifetime members, it will be $70.
Okay.
Because we're not buying any food. We still have to pay for a lot of the electronic stuff that we have to set up and make use of, like Guidebook and those kind of things. And Zoom, there's some costs involved. And we are paying our national speakers. So there are a few, but nothing like a regular conference where we have all that food and all that extra stuff that we have to pay for. So it'll be $70 per person, not including their dues. So the $100 is $30 for dues, $70 for conference.
Okay, thank you.
And Valda, do you want me to register you and then you'll get the notice?
Yeah, if you would, that would be nice, please, and thank you.
Absolutely.
I started out tonight with this, and all of a sudden my phone went Fritz, and that was the end of it. And I didn't hear the middle and the start of it. Didn't get into a whole lot of it.
So I could register you, and then I'll send you the invoice. You'll get the invoice, and then you can go from there.
Alrighty, that sounds fine. Thank you so much, Margaret.
So we have another question from Edna. If Edna wants to ask your question.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah.
Okay. My thoughts after listening to this and the trouble some participants had connecting, including myself, first time on Zoom, just saying, don't judge. There are people out there with less computer experience than myself. I think you guys should possibly offer another session, a question and answer next week when people have had a chance to think about everything they've been presented with tonight. Does that make sense?
It does, Edna.
I just, just an opportunity, because if those that possibly are really struggling, it gives them an opportunity to get more information and maybe become more comfortable so they're okay going into this virtual conference.
You bet.
I just think that would be maybe courtesy.
Okay. Because I know we have one also scheduled for tomorrow night, but we can definitely look at doing something next week for us.
Excuse me. Isn't tomorrow night kind of just same as tonight?
It is.
Okay. But anyways, just a thought, maybe throw something out there for next week if people still have questions, kind of an advanced session.
Okay.
Well, and what I'd like to say about, I think that's a great idea. And I think what we're finding too on the conference email site is people who couldn't make it today or tomorrow, I'm setting up individual sessions with as well. So I think it's a great idea. We'll throw it out there and see if there's, some of these last minute questions. But also I want to make sure everyone knows that that's available. If you have questions and you want to talk one-on-one to me, anyone else on the conference team, we're happy to do it.
Thank you. I just think that's really great that you guys are working this hard. Appreciate it.
Any other questions?
I will say amen to that because like she said, I'm a first time on Zoom and didn't really know what I was doing. Ended up going next door to my neighbors and had her help me get on so that I know what the heck I was doing after the kids did it all this last year for school. So now that I'm on, I kind of know a little bit about what I'm doing, but I'm kind of left out in left field yet.
We'll get you caught up there. No worries about that. Any other questions for us this evening? If there are no other questions, thank you so much for joining in. You can tell your, friends and family, we are going to do another one of these tomorrow night. And again, any questions, SDEMSA2020@gmail.com. And you can reach out to us, but that's the quickest way to get a hold of us. And thank you so much for participating and helping us give you a little bit of behind the scenes of how this is going to work for everybody so that you can feel comfortable getting those 20 hours. Ellie, is there anything else?
I think that's it for tonight.
Wonderful. We'll see you guys at conference. I'm so excited. Yay. See you in a couple of weeks, you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.